Algebra I 1.1a. We're going to talk about symbols and expressions in this unit and algebraic expressions right now. There's a few words that you have to make sure you know, and if you saw the previous 9 videos for Get Ready for Algebra in this playlist, it'll help you. A variable is any letter of the alphabet that takes the place of an unknown number. An algebraic expression, well, it's an expression like 12 divided by n, and that n is the variable, and it contains at least one variable. Now, it's not an equation. An equation has an equal sign. Substituting, well, that's to replace a variable with a number or another expression. So if x equals 3, 4x means 4 times 3, because the x is taking the place of the 3. We substitute the 3 in for the x. And evaluate, that means to find the value of a numerical expression, like this, or an algebraic expression, and we substitute a number for each variable and we calculate the answer. So when I substituted the 3 in for the x, and I do 4 times 3 is 12, I just evaluated it, okay? So an algebraic expression almost looks like an equation, but it doesn't have an equal sign, so it's not the same thing. This is an expression, see? This is an equation. The only thing that's different between them is this one has an equal sign. It makes it an equation, okay? In an equation, this side has to be equal to this side. In an expression, it's by itself, see? And they both can have numbers, variables, operation signs, parentheses, and brackets. But an algebraic expression has no equal sign. And it has to have at least one variable. So if it just said 2 plus 3 and there was no equal sign, just 2 plus 3, that's not an expression because there's no variable in it. It's just numbers. It needs to have a variable, an alphabet. So just remember, like x and y, they're just variables that take the place of an unknown amount, like a blank. Remember when you were in first grade, it said 2 plus blank equals 5, and you had to fill in the blank? Well, that's what these variables are doing now. Any letter of the alphabet can take the place of that blank. So if we saw evaluate n minus 5 for n equals 15, all we have to do is substitute 15 for the n. So instead of n minus 5, we have 15 minus 5. Well, that equals 10. So now we've evaluated it, see? Now what if it said n was equal to 3 this time? Because they can change. Each letter of the alphabet could take a place of that blank space, and it could be a 3 in one problem, a 15 in another problem, a 4 in another problem. It's just taking the place of the blank. Now, usually the letter of the alphabet stands for whatever is missing. So what if I said I had 2 nectarines and some unknown amount of nectarines and another unknown amount of nectarines, and that the nectarines equaled 3. So I would have n for nectarines, see? And if I had balloons, I could use a b here, see? So the alphabet is usually helping you remember what it is you were counting, okay? So if I have n plus 2 plus n, and n equals 3, I just put a 3 in wherever I see an n. And instead of n plus 2 plus n, I get 3 plus 2 plus 3. Well, that equals 8. We just substitute the 3 for the n, see? Well, multiplying, we don't use an x anymore because it can be confused with the variable x. And we use x a lot as a variable. So we use other ways. 2x or 3a. See how there's a number next to the alphabet? We just put a variable right next to the number, or a variable right next to a variable, like ab or xy. Now, that is called a coefficient. And if you saw the previous videos, Get Ready for Algebra, you'd understand the number in front of a variable is a coefficient, and without this variable, he's just a number. See? That's why he's saying you're just a number without me. So if that variable went away, he would just be a standalone number. The minute that variable's there, he becomes a coefficient. Okay? So you might want to write some of this stuff down if you don't know it, because that's going to help you to remember it. When you look at it, hear it, and write it, it helps you remember because you're doing all 3. Okay? So this 2 in front of the x is now the coefficient, and that's the variable. See? And we could even put them in parentheses. We could say 3 and then a 2 in parentheses. That means multiply. And if both of them are in parentheses, that means multiply. We could also use a dot. And I believe, actually, that children should do this from first grade or second grade, whenever they start understanding multiplication, that there shouldn't be the x there because that's too confusing. I think we should always have the dot there from the early grades as multiplication. So this means 3 times 2 or 3 times a. So if we need to evaluate 7x for x equals 4, 7 times 4, see? That's 28. We just substitute the 4 for the x. When dividing algebraic expressions, we can use an obelus. That's what that division sign is with the 2 dots in the line. That's called an obelus. So 10 divided by x, and we can also use a fraction line, which is also called a vinculum. So if you ever hear obelus or vinculum, you know that those are like the correct math terms for those symbols. So a fraction line is actually called a vinculum, okay? And that's actually called an obelus. And remember, fractions are just little division problems. If you've been following along with JoAnn school since, way back, or even just last year, 8th grade, I always say fractions are just little division problems. So if we needed to evaluate 18 over a for a equals 6, we know that's a division problem. 18 divided by a, 18 divided by 6. See? We just substitute the 6 for the a and we get 3. Now, there's something else you need to know before we get going deeper into this Algebra 1, and that is the different types of numbers. And natural numbers are the counting numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and whole numbers are natural counting numbers that are not fractions or decimals, and that could be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's anything that's not a fraction or a decimal. Now, if this really confuses you and you don't know the difference between integers and natural numbers and whole numbers and all of those, and rational numbers and irrational numbers, in video 1.2a in my grade 8 math playlist, so it should be right near the top because it's chapter 1, unit 2. So it's going to be right at the top of the playlist. There's going to be a link in this description of this video for it, but you might want to watch that video because it explains all the different types of numbers, and you might need a good refresher since it's been such a long time since the beginning of 8th grade. Now, here's the other thing I want to go over with you, and is it an algebraic expression or not? Is 4xy divided by 2 an algebraic expression? It absolutely is. There's no equal sign, and it has at least one variable. So this is yes. Okay? So this is an algebraic expression. Okay? Is 12 take away 7 equal 5 an algebraic expression? No. It's got an equal sign, so that one doesn't count. How about 12 over x? Is that an algebraic expression? Well, it certainly is. That's a little division problem with one variable x. So this is an algebraic expression. How about this one? 1/3 times 1/3. Is that an algebraic expression? It's got an equal sign, so no. No equal signs allowed. How about 2a plus 6a? Yes, it is. And so is 10 plus n. They each have at least one variable, and there's no equal sign. So they're algebraic expressions. See that? All right, we're going to go on to our next video, and we're going to talk about the order of operations, and we're going to continue talking about the intro to algebra to get you ready for this year. Okay? Bye.